You know me, I'm not the sort of person who would dive into relationships that much, including friendships and especially romance. I'm just not really interested. So forgive me when I say that I am baffled with boys who thinks that they're a key that can unlock every hole. While I do see the appeal of ladies and I don't mind myself having one, I don't see the appeal of fucking everyone on the planet. I prefer things to be a bit more traditional, classic one-on-one romance. And with this, you might be not so shocked to find out that I'm not a big fan of harem. And while Ouran is technically a reverse harem, the story isn't about the protagonist's desires of wanting to fuck every hot guy.
It's a reverse harem! This is a reverse harem!
I don't like harems because I value characters. I value loyalty and commitment in a relationship. I also want my sex to be personal and not be accompanied by someone who I'm not as invested in as my girl. I just, for the good of me, cannot buy the idea that your girlfriend would let you fuck someone else. I can buy the boys doing that. We have a term for it. I think it's called... I definitely don't buy the girls letting you fuck other girls, and why would they? I personally wouldn't fuck girls that I'm not invested in. It just took me out of the experience. It felt awkward and less intimate. A harem setup in and of itself is fine. Preferring the pairing of one character over the other is also fine. But an ending where you fuck everybody? No, this is not for me. 2's a company, 3's a crowd, and beyond that you should be in post-Valentine Persona 5. Or preferably the ending of School Days. I won't show that, watch the anime. But hey, say what you want about crappy harems in fiction, at least they're fictional. Meet Joss Whedon. You might remember him as the director of 2 Avengers films. He's one of those people who are just absolute shameless feminists. He will promote feminism left and right, and he will call out misogyny when he sees it. Well, it turns out that for someone who is preaching feminism, well, I don't know, his leaked Wonder Woman script turns out to have some very interesting lines. And just recently, according to his ex-wife, he is a horrible, disloyal prick who cheats on his wife for 15 years, and the most bizarre out of all of them, using feminism as an excuse for it. Apparently your harem fantasies can be realized if you just slap feminism to it. Again, maybe it's just my naive 19-year-old virgin mind here, but I genuinely don't see the appeal of having sex with multiple women, especially when you have formed a bond with one of them. It just doesn't feel personal, even though that should be the best part in my opinion, and I kind of feel bad for the other if they're not pleased enough. If I don't find harem in fiction appealing, then what hopes would you have from me having faith in real-life harem? Regardless, him being outed as a horrendous disloyal prick by his own ex-wife has caused some dire consequences, and these consequences are pretty damn funny. The Berry Sue decided to make an article basically collecting mean tweets roasting him. It's quite ironic that they're willing to collect bad words to Joss Whedon, but they're unwilling to do the same courtesy of documenting the bad words of that Marvel editor. Another bizarre one is his own fan site is closing down, which is pretty damn horrendous but also unsurprising considering that you're making a site dedicated to one person who obviously has his own glaring flaws. Seriously, stop worshipping one person. But to me, a rather bizarre take was from Pace Magazine. Horizon Zero Dawn. Joss Whedon in a problem with strong female characters. Yeah, apparently his own personal life of trying to recreate his harem fantasy is somehow associated with strong female characters. And Horizon Zero Dawn for some reason. I don't know why, but let's check it out. Over the past weekend, it emerged that Joss Whedon, the legendary creator of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, might be a bit of a scumbag. Whedon, who in the past decade has built something out of a reputation as a leading male feminist in pop culture, was recently divorced from his wife of 16 years, Kai Cole. In a blog post on The Wrap, she alleges that over the course of their relationship, Whedon has been a serial cheater, indulging in emotional and physical affairs with fans, co-workers, actresses, and other needy, aggressive women that he encountered in his decades and a half of Hollywood writing. The news was, of course, devastating to some and disappointing to just about everybody. I'm more on the boat of, I don't care about Joss Whedon. He made Avengers, which I liked, Age of Ultrons, which I didn't like, and he's male feminist, which I don't like. So my reaction to this is basically just, eh. Generally, as a tech reporter and pop culture critic, this is a story I've seen play out many times, enough to start forming a theory as to why it happens so often. The first ingredient is usually a privileged person in a marginalized space that begins to enjoy the positive attention they get from the public, self-righteous moral posturing. These people are often hiding something. Whedon himself admitted as much to his wife. That's a rather interesting way of seeing it. There are people who have high privilege trying to go down lower to the marginalized people, or at least as low as rich and privileged people can possibly tolerate, and try to become a beacon or a paragon or a savior for them. They try to become these sorts of moral arbiters, telling minorities that not only they're oppressed, but only the most privileged people can help them. They do this by speaking over them, using them as a crutch to tell other people about whatever moral grandstandings that they're trying to do that day. But I don't think Joss Whedon's behaviors can be explained through that. I think it's just his uncontrollable lust towards women, and him basically using feminism as a weapon to justify his behaviors. Guys, there's no shame in venting your sexual frustrations and other safer means. Vent them in some 2D waifus or something. It's better than ruining a great marriage, or since you're married, just fuck your wife. I don't know, anything other than this.
The second is usually a marginalized audience who desperately wants to believe that a person of oppressive privilege finally gets it.
I have absolutely no idea what that means or what that's supposed to be an explanation of. An ingredient to why Joss Whedon has those behaviors? It just doesn't make any sense.
I myself am guilty of this. At times, I have rallied behind various cisgender straight men in the tech industry because I assume they can be trusted on the merit of their professed beliefs. In private, however, many of these men turned out to be just as sexist as any of the outwardly misogynistic. Rarely they were able to actually practice what they preached.
Well, I agree. I've documented the case of these male feminists not doing the things that they have preached in social media. Full version in the bottom or top right corner. The people who are preaching feminist values of respecting women and defending them when they're being harassed on the internet or something, they're not doing the things that they're preaching in their lives. They just preach that they're better people in social media just to wipe a little bit of guilt on their system on not doing the things that they preached about. And again, I just personally don't see the appeal.
Often the warning signs were there, but I only spotted them in hindsight. When you're desperate for a sign that the world is changing for the better, you see what you want to see.
Well, here's the thing. It's been documented for years now. I have documented them, and I think I need to put a counter of how many days since we found out that a male feminist turns out to be harassing women. Oh, well, that didn't take long. Reset. Seriously, it's rather concerning that amongst your respect women movement, there are those who are only interested in not only covering up the fact that they are miserable towards women themselves, but also to take an opportunity to cheat out of marriage for the sake of his own harem fantasy or something. I mean, that's just horrendous.
A problem in pop culture feminism is that the education is informal and opt-in. Rarely are its acolytes, who are inevitably the most vocal and enthusiastic evangelists, given the contextual foundation of its philosophical underpinnings. As a result, some of the ideas circulating within the community can be misguided, if not harmful.
Oh wow, that's actually an interesting point. So there are two sects of feminism in that respect, academic feminism and pop culture feminism. It's like a music genre of some sort. And according to the writer, the implementation of feminism in pop culture has watered down the educational value and philosophical underpinnings of academic feminism to the point where the teachings of feminism could be used in a manner that is misguided at best and harmful at worst. So what the writer is basically saying here is pop culture feminism is bad for a reason that I surprisingly agree with. It undermines the philosophical underpinnings of what made feminism. It waters down the educational value into nothing but easily digestible, cheap, and marketable ideas to the point where it sounds so ridiculous, misguided, and downright prudish. And thanks to the watered down version of the ideas, it resulted in the educational value of academic feminism to lose its meanings and context. Not only that, but it resulted in people following those ideologies not for the sake of equality of both genders, but only as means of either tackling the moral high ground on policing people's content, as that one Mary Sue article said, or using it to either justify or repent one's immoral behaviors. Or maybe even both. And that is assuming if I think academic feminism has any merits. So congratulations, writer, you just undermined pop culture feminism by that one paragraph. I'll be citing your article later on in the future just to tell people how dangerous and misguided this watered down version of the ideology is.
In the case of nerd culture, the loudest voices are often white and cisgender, a group that, upon warming to social justice causes, often means well, but in their enthusiastic attempt to advocate for others, begin to speak over those who have direct experience with discrimination. Thus, the popular narrative is shifted to the least insightful perspective, often taking the movement's priorities with it. Of this, as a white woman, I have also been guilty.
I have to give huge credits to the writer for checking her privilege.
Sorry, I'm white! Sorry, I'm male! Sorry, I'm white! Sorry, I'm male!
Yes, I hate it when someone decided to be offended on my behalf, and I don't want those people to take the bullet for me. Let me do it myself. Don't expect me to shower you with praise, you white knights. I myself have suffered discrimination over mean words that people say on the internet, and some of that are on the expense of my race even. But I can handle it myself. You don't have to speak over me. You don't have to defend me. Insults are things that I can handle with. It's something that most of you can't do, unfortunately.
I think this is why so many straight cisgender male writers like Joss Whedon are confused about the differences between strength and agency. That is, many writers think that valuing a woman based on her strength is feminist, and that writing a strong female character who totally kicks ass is enough to challenge misogyny.
Here's the thing. Even if this female character is the most well-written character that TV has ever spawned, I don't think that those are enough to challenge misogyny. If men being misogynistic towards women actually does happen and you want to fight for it, I think the best course of action is to stay away from fiction. Pop culture feminism in current year is like an animal rights activist seeking to fight against animal cruelty in video games. Not exactly the best place to find out what rights they don't have, and especially when you yourselves are violating the things that you're preaching.
And while that context can and does subvert common sexist tropes, for example, putting a high value on physical female strength and portraying women as lead and not as sidekick, both of which support female autonomy, it reinforces others.
Wow. Thank you for this paragraph as well. This confirms to me that the patriarchy or misogyny in pop culture is the equivalent of Hydra. You cut off one's head, two more shall take its place. Except this time the Hydra is a figment of the feminists' imagination, and they're gonna grow as many heads as possible until they're tired and they're bored or something. Best way to deal with this is how you deal with hydras. Roast them in social media or something. What? Mary Sue said it's okay.
Society has been structured around female dependence on men, and it leaves us extremely vulnerable and at risk for exploitation and harm. That's why we fight so hard for our economic freedom and object to social frameworks that reinforce our subjugation. This can include how we are depicted in media. Feminism is the assertion of our right to seek out and define our own existence and determine our own fates. It's not enough to write a strong female character. Not all women are strong, and that doesn't mean they're any less valuable. Don't write them with strength as the goal. Write them with agency.
AKA, physical strength is just one factor and should not be used as a sole crutch to define one character's overall value. I agree. Damn, this article's doing well so far, but... Wait, we're talking about Joss Whedon, are we?
We women know we're strong. We have had to be. Sometimes when you praise us for our strength, it feels like you're celebrating our ability to endure immense amount of bullshit. In that sense, even the value that straight cisgender men place on our strength feels self-serving. In the end, we're strong because we're trying to survive you.
Well, the you part in the very last sentence can be interpreted as anyone who you're trying to survive with, and that's not just limited to cis white men. There's a lot of infighting between women, and especially feminists, who disagree with each other, and especially feminists who are slimmer. Did you know that Weightism is a part of a university course? But that paragraph is also very telling because you're on the mindset that only cis straight white men are the people who are going against you. The enemy of the world is cis straight white men, and they're the cause of the problems that you're facing in your life. Well, that's not exactly correct, lady.
There are many ways to write and be feminist, but cisgender straight male writers in particular do not seem to understand that contextualizing the noteworthiness of a woman in terms of their sexual worth is sexism's ugly root, not merely one of its branches. If you ask them to stop gauging a woman's value on the basis of her appearance, there is often an entitled, almost angry response along the lines of, "But it's my right to look at women and evaluate their body."
Hold the phone right there. There's nothing wrong with people saying, I have the right to look at women and evaluate their body. There's also nothing wrong with judging women based on their appearance. Appearance gives a glaring first impression to not only women, but to anybody. If your appearance looks like you came out of a lobotomized Final Fantasy universe, people will definitely judge. Deal with it. Oh, you might be a really nice person inside. It's the inside that matters, right? Not entirely so. Unpopular opinion, but if you don't look normal, act normal, or be normal, prepare to be judged. I have no doubts you're gonna say that to the men as well.
If you want to improve social condition by adjusting the way you write women, start with agency. Empower us. Make us the hero of our own story. Defer to our authority and our perspective. Make us sympathetic. Empathize with us. Give us the benefit of a doubt. Write women who are vulnerable and weak but still bravely pursue their motivations and endeavors. Write a woman who cries and is scared but still saves the day. Write a woman who is angry and imperfect but has a heart of gold. Write a woman you don't want to fuck. Not because she has traits you find unfuckable, but because you respect her enough to not even think about it if she is or not. Write a woman who would want nothing to do with you.
Oh wow, those are all concrete and direct guides in how to write women according to a feminist. I gotta give you some props, article. You actually tell us what to do in order to please you. A lot of these feminist critics just criticize one thing, but they never actually define what we should do. Even if there are parts that I disagree with, at least being direct and honest in what you want sends a much clearer message that we can start a conversation with. Thanks for that. With that being said, you don't necessarily have to be a hero of a story to be strong. I'm very sure you also said that a couple of paragraphs ago. And finally, a woman that you don't want to fuck, not because she has traits you find unfuckable, but because you respect her enough to not even think about it if she is or not. Sorry, but people have their own opinions and judgments and preferences. You can't just erase that just because you didn't like it.
And above all, show that you value women enough to value them in any of their forms, even the ones you've been conditioned to use as justification to withhold your respect. Value them on their own terms and not yours. Until you can do that, the work is not yet done.
You what?
I should value women based on their own terms? Are you saying that if a woman says that she's beautiful, you just need to accept that she is? Your insecurity is very glaring here. Overall, this article just goes on a zigzag. There are points that make me go, you are absolutely correct, and there are those that make me go, wow, you are so wrong. I prefer to read these types of articles, a huge part of it because I actually learned something among the garbage they spew. So thanks for participating, article. And finally, to Joss Whedon himself, keep your harem fantasies in your head. Seriously. Before we end this video, oh god, we have so many awesome people here with their kind donations. Huge thanks to A. Smith, Crazy Wolf 002, William Rayhack, and Joshua Wiles for the pledges on Patreon, and Brian Thomas and Alan Vang for the pledges on PayPal. You guys are the best. That's all for the video today. If you like this, you can go ahead, click like button, and subscribe for more. If you wish, you can support me on Patreon. And thanks for watching.
That can't be right. I must have heard wrong. Maybe there's still some water in my ear from when I went swimming.
Water in the ear, that's gotta be it.
I'm sure we just heard her wrong. There's no way this cute little girl said the words reverse harem.
There's the